Welcome to the Baboom Baboom podcast, your go-to source for expert tips on car stereo installation, vehicle wiring, and all things wiring related. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we've got the advice to help you power up your ride. Get ready to crank up the volume on your knowledge and make your next wiring project a success.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty electrifying today, something we all rely on but rarely think about. Electrical load.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? Until something goes wrong.
Exactly. And then it's like, wait, how do circuits even work? So today, we're breaking down what electrical load is, why it matters to you, and how to avoid those wiring mistakes that can, let's just say, really ruin your day.
We're talking potential fire hazards, folks.
Yeah.
Not something to be taken lightly.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So let's start simple. What exactly is electrical load? Imagine I'm clueless about all things electrical. Break it down for me.
Okay, picture this. Your home's wiring is like a network of roads, right? And the electricity flowing through those wires, that's the traffic. Every single thing you plug in, your phone charger, that lamp, even the fridge. Those are like vehicles adding to the traffic. Electrical load is basically the total amount of traffic all your devices are putting on those electrical roads at any given time. Okay, so more devices running at once equals more traffic. And just like with real traffic, too much congestion is where the trouble starts.
Exactly. Too much traffic on those electrical roads, and things start to break down.
And by breakdown, we're talking more than just a slow commute, right?
Yeah, we're talking trip breakers, fried wires, in some cases, even fires.
Okay, that makes it crystal clear why this is important. Our sources mention different types of electrical loads. Is that something we need to worry about in our homes?
Good to know about, for sure. But most of what you'll find in a typical house, these are what we call resistive loads. Stuff like your toaster, old school light bulbs that heat up, space heaters, anything that basically turns electricity into heat.
So it's not just how many things I have plugged in, but what those things are actually doing that adds to the load.
Exactly. One little lamp, no big deal. But fire up a hairdryer, a space heater, and a toaster oven, all on the same circuit. You're basically asking for trouble.
Yikes. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for an electrical meltdown.
Meltdown, or even worse, a fire. Which is why we got to talk about some common wiring mistakes that lead to these situations in the first place. Mistakes that a lot of people don't even realize they're making.
Let's do it. I'm all ears. Or eyes, in this case, ready to learn how to keep my own electrical traffic flowing smoothly.
All right, let's talk wiring woes, those common mistakes people make. One of the biggest culprits is using the wrong wire gauge.
Wire gauge. That's about the thickness of the wire, right? Like how some wires are super thin and some are like industrial strength.
You got it. Think of it like your kitchen wiring. That's like a highway for electricity. A 12-gauge wire, that's a thick one, multi-lane freeway, handles those power-hungry appliances, your microwave, your fridge, no problem. But then you got your thinner wires, like 14-gauge. That's more like a residential street. Good for lights, small electronics, but try to put a big old appliance on there, and you're going to have a problem.
So, like, if I used a 14-gauge wire for my kitchen outlets, that's not going to end well, is it?
Not unless you like the smell of burning insulation. It's like trying to fit a whole Thanksgiving feast through a straw. Over time, that wire's going to overheat, and you know what that means.
Definitely not a risk I'm willing to take. Okay, confession time. I am guilty of plugging in way too many things sometimes. How bad is it really to overload a circuit?
It happens to the best of us. Think about your average day, right? You got your laptop, your phone's charging, maybe a desk lamp all on one circuit. But each circuit, it has a limit. Usually 15 amps, maybe 20. Go over that, and boom, trip breaker.
Which actually, that's a good thing, right? It's doing its job, preventing something worse.
Exactly. Safety mechanism, like a pressure valve. Better a tripped breaker than a full-blown electrical fire. The key is to be mindful of how much you're plugging in, especially in rooms with those big appliances.
Smart power distribution. Got it. Now, what about older homes? Our sources mention old wiring being a hidden danger. What should people be looking out for there?
This is a big one. Wires, they don't last forever, right? Connections come loose, insulation wears down. It's like anything else, it degrades over time. That old wiring, it just can't handle the same load as newer stuff, and that's where the risk comes in.
So even if I'm being careful, the wiring itself could be the weak link. Are there any, like, telltale signs that scream, call an electrician, like yesterday?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Need top quality electrical wire? Baboom Baboom's got you covered. Get your 6-pack today. Each combo comes in 6 different colors and a total of 600 feet of wire. Perfect for any project, and you won't find a better price in the industry. Head over to baboombaboom.com now to snag yours. That's baboombaboom.com.
If your breakers are tripping all the time, even when you're not using much, if your lights dim or flicker when an appliance kicks on, if an outlet feels hot to the touch, those are all signs you need to call in a professional. Like, don't wait on that one.
Definitely better to be safe than sorry, especially with something as important as our home's electrical system. We've covered wire gauge, overloading circuits, faulty wiring. What about extension cords? Are those a temporary fix or a recipe for disaster?
Extension cords are super useful, don't get me wrong. They're great for those temporary situations, when you need to reach an outlet that's just a bit too far. But you should never, ever use them as a permanent solution.
So if I'm constantly reaching for an extension cord, that's a sign I need to rethink my electrical situation.
Bingo. Think of it like this. You wouldn't water your entire garden using one of those flimsy little hoses, right?
No.
Same goes for extension cords. They're not designed to handle that kind of load. Overloading them is just asking for trouble. If you're relying on them all the time, that's your cue to call an electrician. Talk about adding more outlets, getting things rewired, whatever it takes to make things safe and permanent.
This is all great advice. But let's say, despite our best efforts, we end up in that dreaded situation. The lights dim, maybe we smell something a little off. What do we do right then and there?
First things first, don't panic.
So we're in that moment, things are starting to go haywire. What's the first move?
Stay calm. This is a problem that can be solved. First thing, unplug anything on that circuit that's drawing a lot of power, especially these big offenders, space heaters, hair dryers.
So like if my microwave just died and the lights are flickering, I should unplug it and anything else on that circuit that might be pulling a lot of juice.
Exactly. Once you've reduced the immediate load, head over to your electrical panel and find the trip breaker. It'll be flipped to the off position, probably sticking out a bit.
Okay, and then what?
Flip it all the way off first, then back to the on position. That should reset it.
And what if it trips again immediately? Asking for a friend who might have a habit of ignoring those little warning signs.
Well, then your friend needs to call an electrician. Seriously, that's a sign there's a bigger issue. Think of resetting the breaker like hitting the snooze button on a fire alarm, just delaying the inevitable.
Okay, that's a good analogy. Deal with the root cause, don't just hit snooze. So the breaker stays reset, everything seems fine. What are some ways to make sure this doesn't become a regular thing?
If it's the same circuit tripping over and over, it might just be overloaded for your needs. An electrician can tell you if you need to add more circuits or even upgrade your electrical panel.
An upgrade. Never really thought about my electrical panel like that. But I guess it makes sense that it's not like it's immune to needing updates.
Nope. Especially in older homes, or if you've been adding new appliances without upgrading the electrical, it's like trying to run the latest software on a 10-year-old computer.
Recipe for disaster. So we've covered immediate fixes, but what about thinking long-term? Is there a way to future-proof our electrical systems?
100%. If you're renovating or building, think about your future electrical needs. Even if it seems far off, a home office, a hot tub, going electric with your car, all that increases demand on your system.
So it's like city planning, they zone for future growth, even if it's just an empty field right now?
Exactly. Another thing is using higher capacity wiring than you think you need right now. It's like choosing a bookshelf with extra shelves. Might not need them now, but you'll be glad you have them later.
Future-proofing for those inevitable appliance upgrades.
Exactly. And, it's not just about brute force either. Smart home wiring is getting more and more popular. That makes it even easier to upgrade and expand your system down the line.
Love it when technology makes life easier. So as we wrap up this deep dive into all things electrical load, what are the key takeaways?
Simple stuff, really. Understand your electrical system. Be mindful of what you're plugging in, and don't ignore those warning signs. That's how you keep your home safe and your appliances running smoothly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We've learned what electrical load is, how to avoid common wiring mistakes, even how to deal with a potential overload. And remember, if you're ever unsure about something, just call an electrician. That's what they're there for.
Couldn't agree more. And one last thought. We've been talking about the load of individual devices, but what about your whole house? What's its overall electrical footprint? Are there ways you can be more energy efficient in your day-to-day life? Those are things to think about as you become more aware of the power, literally, that's flowing through your home.
Great point. It's all connected, isn't it? Well, on that note, thanks for joining us on this electrifying journey, everyone. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.
Need top-quality electrical wire? Baboom Baboom's got you covered. Get your 6-pack today. Each combo comes in 6 different colors and a total of 600 feet of wire. Perfect for any project, and you won't find a better price in the industry. Head over to baboombaboom.com now to snag yours. That's baboombaboom.com.